Take a local hostelry, take the people too. Take a look at the life they lead and the things they do. Take a little history and music, take a little fun and mix it through. Add a local atmosphere and you've got home brew. Hi, welcome to Home Brew from the Sloop Inn, Porthgain on the lovely northwest Pembrokeshire coast. I seem to spend half my life in a car, up and down Wales, and you've got to grab a pint wherever you can. But if I've got enough time, I like to find that little out-of-the-way place off the beaten track. And when you find these little pubs, there's always about a half a dozen locals in there having a game of darts or a game of cards, just having a chat over a pint. And I've often wondered, what do they work at? What do they do for entertainment? Well, that's some of the things we've come here to find out today. And helping us in our thirst for knowledge is the Lord of the Liquid Lunch, Squire Brinshankin himself, Ian Skidmore.
Yeah, well, you spend half your life in a car and I spend mine in the bar because, you see, I combine a thirst for knowledge with the knowledge of thirst unequalled in the Principality. The only thing is, I don't move about very much. It's years since I've broken into a trot. So I thought it was time I came out with Frank and had a look and see how the other half lived, and if necessary, to have the other half with them. But we're not going to spend all our time in the pub, because there's more to Porthgain even than this lovely sloop.
Being a city dweller, it would be easy for me to imagine that Porthgain is one of those little sleepy hamlets tucked away on the West Wales coast where nothing ever happens, or indeed has ever happened. But in fact, it's had a unique and a very varied industrial history. And one man who's made an intensive study of this is Ian Griffiths. Hello, Ian.
Hello, how are you, Frank?
Very well indeed, thanks.
Good.
What's this building here?
Well, this is the earliest building on site, dating back to about 1837, 1840. And it is the counting house where the slates that went down to the harbour for transshipment were counted.
And it's made of slate, isn't it?
Indeed it is, and it shows very clearly the two different qualities. We have here the Porthgain slate, which had the application of heat through the volcanic movement affecting it and became very, very hard. And we have then the Aberystwyth slate, which, as you can see, is quite friable and virtually rots away.
And where is Aberystwyth?
Aberystwyth is about a mile up the coast. It's the next little bay.
But two great differences in the quality then.
Indeed, and this what dictated the demise of the slate industry here. They started mixing the good quality and the poor quality, and charging then, of course, the price of the top quality slate.
They should have stuck to the best Porthgain, shouldn't they?
They should indeed.
But it wasn't only slate that came from here, was it?
No. Following quickly on this came the brick industry and then a roadstone industry.
Can we have a look at the brickworks first?
Yes, the brickworks is here. We'll walk down and have a look at it.
Great.
Well, Frank, this is it. A very, very fine building. Built of Porthgain stone.
Lovely green colour, isn't it?
It's a beautiful colour.
What went on in here then, Ian?
Well, this was the building where the pulverised material was brought to, tipped in through these gaps here, and then went into the pressing machine to form the bricks. Then the bricks were taken to the drying sheds, which were used to be at the pine end here. And then, of course, we had a very fine kiln on the other side, and there's the photograph of it here.
That's a big building, isn't it? With a fine stack.
A magnificent building, magnificent stack too.
And were the bricks of a good quality?
Exceptionally good quality, and very, very hard, and also half as heavy again as the normal brick, which meant that anyone taking bricks from here, they could only take in the ratio of 1,000 instead of 1,500.
Well, it made them expensive to ship out of here then.
It did indeed. And also made them very hard to handle at the other end, because brickies didn't like these bricks from Porthgain that were much heavier than what they were normally using.
Hard work, eh?
It was.
That's a fascinating skyline up there, Ian. What are all those buildings projecting into the sky?
You see, the pillars that stand up held the crushing plant. Now, the raw stone was brought from the quarry out on the cliffs, came in here on a little steam train, were tipped into the crackers and broken up. Then they dropped into screens which graded the stone, and you had from 1/4 inch up to 4-inch stone in the bins along the side here, ready for shipment.
Well, there can be no doubt where we are now, Ian, with that lovely sea breeze coming in. The old port of Porthgain.
It is indeed, yes.
What's that big hole in the wall over there, though?
Ah, well, now that hole is the access to the quarry on the other side of the cliff where the material for brickmaking came out from. And believe it or not, it's the only place where the company got their mathematics correct, and the trucks, once they were filled at the far end, would gravitate down onto the harbour wall.
Hey, great labour-saving device, eh?
It was indeed.
And in its heyday, I bet there were quite a few ships in here tied up waiting to take stuff away.
It was a very busy port, and indeed in my album here I have a photograph showing 9 ketches and a steam tug inside this little harbour. And you'll have to take my word for it, I have counted them.
I bet you have. Would it be difficult, Ian, for a ship out at sea to find the entrance to this little harbour?
It would, because when you're at sea, the harbour entrance is screened. And then we have these big markers either side of the harbour which guides ships in to the harbour entrance itself.
But once they were inside and tied up, they were well protected, Ian.
Yes, safe and sound.
And only a couple of minutes from the sloop.
Indeed.
And a well-earned point at the end of the day.
That's right.
Of course, if there any sense, they'd never have left the sloop, because you can slurp in the sloop. And you also meet Ruth Barker, who I've heard described as Pembrokeshire's leading songwriter-composer. That's a bit of a title to live up to.
Yes, I should think Pembrokeshire must be a very small county, that's all I can say.
No, you get lovely inspiration from the county. That's what you should say, because you do, don't you?
Oh, yes, I do, yes.
In
All
fact-
the inspiration comes from the coast.
And all your songs are about this part of the world,
Yes,
aren't they?
yes.
Including the one you're going to sing now,
Yes.
which is called, by a remarkable coincidence, Porthgain.
Fine. Yes. That's your umbrella. Thank you.
Soft blue skies and still blue seas, fishing boats and salty breeze are the memories I shall carry through my days. Knowing how in years gone by in the harbour ships would lie, heavy laden with the toils of common men. Boundless beauty, wild and free, still surround the stone-walled quay. People stand where men once worked to earn their pay. Children laugh, their echoes fall on the ivy-covered walls. Empty shells that once stood proud around the bay. In the 20s, slate and stone gave 200 men a home, and those dwellings stay reminders of the strife. At the inn, they earned their rest before sleep. That welcome guest brought another dawn, another day to life. Men look out in every weather from the cliffs of gorse and heather for the sails that will not enter here again. 60 years have come and gone, yet the history lingers on. All around the peaceful beauty of Porthgain. All around the peaceful beauty of Porthgain.
The very talented Ruth Barker singing Porthgain. And if ever a village deserved a signature tune, it's this one, because 4 years ago, the customers of this pub woke up to find their village was for sale. The English company who owned it wanted to sell it. They didn't mind if they sold it in lots, in differences. They just wanted to get rid of it. But Jack Davis, you were the council at the time, and you decided they weren't going to do it. But tell me, how did you go about buying a village?
First of all, we had all the village together, and we decided then on a ways and means of getting money together to buy the village. Of course, we knew a lot of people who contributed outside, and from some people from away. And I remember one particular Sunday morning in here, we collected nearly £1,000.
Just in the pub on a Sunday morning?
Just in the pub on a Sunday morning.
And how much did you manage to get in the end?
We managed to get in the end 55,000 odd.
But presumably you get a little outside help with that.
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
You got people who wanted to see you as a community?
We did get people outside who contributed good figure of money.
Well, it must be very difficult because how do you set a price on a harbour, for example? How do you set a price on a village?
Nobody could set a price. Nobody could value Porthgain. But the agents, that's how they put it out on tender basis.
Yeah, I see, yeah. Because if it'd been auctioned, you'd have pretty well known what was happening. Because it's a tender, you've got to decide how much you've got. So what do? You just sent in the money you've got and hope for the best?
We sent in our tender and we had Porthgain.
Yeah. So you're now really a mutually owned village.
That's right.
And do you get on well with each other?
Yes, very well. Very well. But very kind people in the community, very kind people.
Yeah.
No problem at all.
Yeah, I've seen that with the days. I mean, I wouldn't mind buying this pub. Is it for sale?
Oh, no, I don't think Bertie and Margaret will sell you this pub.
Well, never mind.
No.
I'll put as much of a deposit as I can over the counter.
All right.
Although Porthgain is a little seaside village, the main industry around here now is agriculture. And one man who farms locally is Graham Perkins. Graham, your farm's not far from here, is it?
No, it's a few miles up the coast.
So it's handy to drop in for a quick pint.
Yes.
Thirsty work farming, eh?
It is, can be,
Oh, well, I found it thirsty work the other afternoon when you took me around there.
despite the high winds.
Oh, look at the glow on the cheeks. Well, it's a beautiful location, Graham, but doesn't being so close to the coast give you problems with the sea spray and the wind?
Yes, grave problems. We get a lot of wind damage. Any crops that are high get swept off by the wind. Salt spray acts as a weed killer. Salt is a weed killer, in fact. Can kill the plants. And also we're very dry because the water drains down to sea level, and being very shallow soil, it can be very dry soil here.
Well, why then is Pembrokeshire so successful in the early potato growing?
One of our big benefits is the frost-free nature of the land being right on the sea. We get very little frost here, usually. And also the soil being shallow, it warms up very quickly. It's got a high stone content. Those act as storage heaters. And it's warm soil. It's very shallow, and therefore it's early.
And these potatoes that you've got in now, are they a special type of potato?
Yes, they're grown because the particular variety is an early variety. Other potatoes they certainly wouldn't have reached this stage that these are at by now. The later ones.
And do all your potatoes go to the grocers?
No, indeed. We've recently gone into growing potatoes for crisping, and we grow these for processors, crisp factories, and they take them and we sell them to them on contract at a fixed price. And those are taken at a set time of year and are taken away.
What about the local rivalry between the farmers here? Is there a great race to get the first Pembrokeshires out of the ground?
Terrific race. You can't believe any early potato farmer in June as to what he says his yield or his price is. You just can't believe him there.
Terrible liars, are they?
Oh, very much so in June. Shocking.
Do you have a kind of a potato nouveau race?
Yes, we even have that. A couple of years ago, our potato marketing group included the young farmers, encouraged them to take up a bag of spuds each up to London and race from here to the top of the Hilton. And it wasn't a case of using the lifts to get to the top of the Hilton. They had to use the stairs, all 23 floors of it.
That'll keep you fit, eh?
Well, it kept them fit, yes.
But it's not all spuds here, is it?
No, indeed, we've got quite a variety at Longhouse.
That's a real picture. How long have you been farming daffodils?
About 25 years we've grown the farm.
You must have been one of the first in the area then.
I think we were about the first in Wales, yes.
And is it a very intensive operation?
Can be very intensive. Can have up to about 40 to 50 pickers here, depending on the weather. If it's cold, they don't turn up.
How many blooms would you get in a good year?
Potentially there's about 3 million blooms, although we only pick about 1.5 to 2 million blooms in any one year because the flowers have to be picked as very tight buds. If they open up, they'll get damaged from the wind and they're unsaleable then.
There's still a lot of daffodils. Where do they all go?
Well, they go right through to all the South Wales outlets, from small corner shops to the big supermarkets and big markets, right up to Birmingham in the end.
And I suppose if you have a good year with the daffs, it compensates for maybe a rough year with the spuds, does
Well,
it?
that's the point of having a mixed farming system, that you don't keep all your eggs in one basket. What's one year, one could be up, next year it's down. But hopefully, as long as they're not all down, you're okay.
Hedging your bets.
Hedging your bets, yes.
Do these youngsters eat daffodils then, Graham?
Not deliberately. They do occasionally break into the daffodil field, but they don't seem to like the taste of them, unfortunately.
And how long will you keep them?
These are 8-month-old now, and we'll keep them for about 18 months. Then they go for beef.
And it's all dry stock then?
All dry stock. It's one of the few things we don't do is milk cows.
Hey, Graham, what's that? An ancient Pembrokeshire cowshed?
That's what they use it for now, but in fact it's an old burial chamber, about 5,000 year old.
And what kind of a person would have been buried in that?
He'd been a pretty important chap, probably some Iron Age chieftain or something.
Somebody like the local chairman of the tourist board, no, is it?
I would think so.
Wedyn wer y gaea lenni, wedyn wer, wedyn wer. Wedyn wer wrth seti tato, wedyn wer. Wedyn wer ar amser codi, wedyn wer wrth fynd i'r gwely. Wedyn wer wrth dreio cwsgi, wedyn wer, wedyn wer. Wen fi wer I fentro caru, mawred wedyn wer. Daeth bachan lawr o'r gogledd, I wlad Home Brew, I wlad Home Brew. Gofynnodd ag ai profi yr Home Brew. Rôl profi blas y dablen, Cymro Swigen ar ôl Swigen. Cyn bo hir oedd ar ei gefen, ar ôl Home Brew, ar ôl Home Brew. Aeth I gwsgi ar ben domen, watchwch yr Home Brew. Mae tato mawr anferthol, down below, down below. Mae tanciau'r German Army, down below. Mae corgwn sef un cwte, BP a shell ar y cledde, a'r tacleau, why ei bai? Down below, down below. Ond wes rhyw iaith glwm bwredd, down below.
That was great. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I recognise the tune, but what were the words about?
Well, the first verse was about this dialect which we have in this part of Pembrokeshire. It's just unique to this part of Wales, actually. The second verse was all about the home brew. I'm sure you've tasted that. Especially up the Cwm Gwaun, up the Gwaun Valley way, they do a lot of this home brew, maxi they call it. And the last verse then, well, that's about the
down belows.
way.
People from down by Pembroke and Kilgetty area.
Any down belows amongst you? Yes. Well, all these must be up on top, sir, yeah? Cwm Dorgion is the name of your group. It means the neighbours, I think, but you're more than neighbours, aren't you? You're married to each other, aren't you?
Yes, we're two couples. There's my wife's by Wyn there, standing by Wyn.
Yes.
And I'm married to Wyn.
Bit of group swapping going on.
Yes, just when we're singing.
Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be an awful lot of organised entertainment around here. Is this the kind of general thing that you have to make your own fun?
Yes, I suppose we sing in local concerts, chapels. We raise money for charity, whoever wants us. And, of course, the Eisteddfod in Fishguard in 1986. So we're all very busy now, organising and raising money for that great event.
And having a thoroughly good time while you're doing it.
That's right.
Well, I did enjoy that very much. Can you hang on and stay around till the end of the evening? Perhaps we'll have another sing-song.
Yes, thank you.
Diolch yn fawr.
The Cymdogion, of course, are farming folk, but they don't just farm the land round here, they farm the sea as well, and they've been doing it for generations. In the case of Phil and Rob Jones' family, for 3 generations, because I think you're the 3rd generation of your family, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right.
And do you think you'll stick it?
Well, I have no choice now.
do you do it all the time? You're out every day of the year?
Yeah, every day. Well, from March until Christmas time is the season, really.
Yeah. And then what do you do the rest of the time? Spend the money?
No, we got to mend the gear during the winter, prepare the boat again, painting. A lot of work, really. Yeah. It's a 12 months of the year job.
Is it really? And she's a nice boat, though, isn't she? She's been in the family long?
22 years.
Yeah. When you go out and you go out every day, how many pots do you put down?
We've got 200 pots out at the moment, but in the summer, later on in the summer, we'll have about 380 out.
Do you know where you're putting them, or do you just sail out and drop them when you feel a bit fed up?
No, we've got to be a bit aware of where we shoot the gear.
Well, how do you know where the lobster's going to be? That's the bait, I take it?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
What an idiot the lobster must be to eat that.
Well, that's all we do is we try and find some rough ground for the lobsters. And, as I said, just let the gear go over that then.
It's extraordinary. You fancy committing suicide by getting into that? And those aren't lobsters, they're
No,
crabs.
the crabs there. The crabs are very good in the spring. In the spring, the condition of the crab is good at this time of year.
Ready market for them?
Quite a good market, yes.
Do you market them yourself?
No, well, we sell them to Milford, where they're taken from there then to Billingsgate and distributed from there then. Mm-hmm. Some of them go abroad, mind, but...
Wouldn't it be better if you sold them yourself? That's a fine one.
It would be better, yes, but there's a lot more work involved then in the selling and the actual catching of the fish.
Yeah, I tell you what, Rob, this is very good of you let us take this, because I understand that fishermen don't let other fishermen know whether they've caught any lobsters.
Yeah, but you're not a fisherman, are you?
Yeah. Not gonna be, you're not gonna give any secrets away. What are you doing, throw them away now? There they go. What now, you're putting the boys out so you won't forget where they are?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, well, it seems a very hard life to me. It's not so much life on the wave, but look there to be life on a permanent wave. I don't think I fancy it. I think I'll stay doing what I am. Thanks for talking to me, Nat.
Thank you.
How do you fancy a bit of lobster fishing, then?
Oh, I'm a winkle man myself.
Oh, I don't mind fishing lobsters as long as they're already on the plate.
Handful of winkles, I'll have a bread sandwich and a bed pin and I'm happy, you know.
That's fine, right.
But no self-respecting West Pembrokeshire seaside village would be complete without its own local artist. And Porthgain is well blessed with the finest artist I've seen for many a year.
Yes,
Alan Davis.
Art with a capital F.
Oh, yes, indeed. No, drinking must be a great problem to an artist because...
No problem at all. No problem.
You've got to get a steady hand, haven't you?
Well, if I've had a quiet night, I paint a tranquil sea, you see, a steady hand. But if it's been a bit of a beano, a wild stormy sea, get rid of the shakes, you see.
Well, you must have had a very early night the morning that I called to see you.
Yeah, you're good company, no comment.
I didn't interrupt you.
No.
Great. It's fascinating, Alan, seeing a painting come to life like that. The light is beautiful on it. Do you do most of your work indoors?
A large part of it, yes. This is Solva Harbour. It involved visiting the place dozens of times, sort of soaking up the atmosphere, getting a feel of the place in different moods. Then I make a lot of sketches on the spot, take photographs and bring the whole lot back to the studio and finish off the details in here.
What are you working from this one? Is it a photograph you've got to remind you?
Got the photograph here. That's the photograph.
Oh, yeah. But this is much nicer. There's far more life in the painting than the photograph. It looks terribly flat against it, doesn't it, the photograph?
Oh, yeah, you're quite right. Well, the thing is to find the light, you see. In this photograph, the light is... the sky is fairly flat, so to add drama, bit of artistic license, I suppose, you dramatise the light here. That's where the light is coming from. Also dramatise the darker bits of the sky. You get the headland in the shadow, and then the lit up sunny side against the dark sky, which adds a more dimension to the painting.
It does indeed. This peculiar Pembrokeshire light, is that one of the reasons there are so many artists now working in this part of Wales?
Well, I would imagine so. All the western coastal scenes are inhabited by artists. The Cornwall is world famous for its artists, and it's this Pembrokeshire area is obviously coming into the spotlight more, and there are quite a few around here.
It must be very competitive now then with all the other local artists. How do you manage to sell your paintings?
Well, I've got the small gallery next door. It's in the village, and people call, and I want to keep it on a small scale, just like that.
Oh, this is smashing. Lovely and light, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good light.
Out of all these beautiful paintings then, Alan, which are your particular favourites?
Oh, I don't hesitate. I always go to that one there. Treteo Farm.
Unusual sky there, isn't it? You've got a black sky, but loads of light in the front.
You often see it in this area. You have this dark, scudding sky, and then you have the sunlight lighting up the buildings in the foreground and on the corn stubble. It brings out the farm, and it's a typical Pembrokeshire farm scene.
It's lovely. This one here is totally different then.
Yeah, it's a difference. That's two colours, blue and red.
Again, it's very striking in its own way, isn't it?
Very often in Pembrokeshire, you have this sort of the sun setting over the sea and a sort of semi-cloudy sky, and then that patch of white reflection on the sea against the stark black headland. Then you get it's windswept, you see, the cliffs, and you often get this barbed wire with a bit of a strand broken. It's a bit of desolate feeling about it.
Fantastic. You obviously put a lot of hours into each painting and great love and care, but they seem to be priced very reasonably. Are you able to support yourself totally from painting?
So just about keeps me in a bit of bread and beer, but to supplement it, I have to do other jobs. In fact, I like to do a few other jobs because they're a complete contrast to doing this. I like to go out on the land and do the spud harvest, also do the grave digging in the area. And with a bit, I have been going to France in September doing treading the grapes. So that brings a bit of additional income in, and it's very enjoyable.
But you're surviving as an artist then?
I'm more successful than Van Gogh to date, because I've sold more than he has when he was alive, and I've also got my 2 years intact. So I'm not doing too badly.
Never, ever try to tell a story round here, because I tried it and they said, he's not as good as Brian Harris. And I said, who's Brian Harris? And they said he's a farmer, but he does impersonations and he makes people laugh. I said, I've never seen a farmer make me laugh. He said, well, you want to talk to Brian Harris, so I am. And how are you tonight?
Well, good evening, Mr. Skidmore.
You got the voice right, the name's wrong, though. How did he get in here? What are you going to do for us? Come on.
What am I going to do for you? Well, as your Secretary of State for Wales, I'd like to take this opportunity to buy all my constituents a drink. So, Mr. Landlord, may I have a pint of beer and 45 straws?
He's not kidding. That's fantastic. I've never interviewed 4 people before. What else are you going to do?
Well, can I know the time is very limited with the BBC. With the precious time that I do have, can I do my favourite impression?
Of course you can. What is your favourite impression?
Bill McLaren, without any doubt.
Righto then, off you go.
And
Bill
can I
McLaren.
set you up by giving you an impression of what I want you to imagine?
Yes, please.
That it's a crucial game, Wales going for the Grand Slam, if you can imagine that.
Yeah.
And that we have to win this last game against England. And we're at the dying minutes of the game, and Wales are losing 15 points to 12. But we're very honoured tonight that 3 of the players that are in this game are in the sloop in Porthgain. Namely Frank Hennessy, winning his first cap. They decided to give him a cap because he wouldn't wash his hair. And we're very proud that our own local Jack Bach is in the team. Jack Davis, the one that spoke to you earlier on, Jack Bach, we know him as, he's in the team, having a lifelong relationship with the local council boys, you know. He ran the show on the road. You didn't know that, did you? He didn't tell you that. And finally, yourself, Mr. Skidmore.
Well done, yeah.
You have been chosen. Nobody knows why, but you've been chosen
As the ball.
for the team. So let's imagine we're at this crucial part of the game, dying seconds of the game, England leading, Wales desperate to win. Bill McLaren on the microphone, and he's telling the world, we've now played 19 minutes of injury time, and it's still England leading Wales by 15 points to 12. But it's a torpedo pass out to the new boy, Frank Hennessy. Oh, this 14.5 stone bionic BBC breakaway forward. And oh, look at him go, driving forward. It's no wonder his teammates call him Fly Away Frank. But he runs into a crunching tackle from two of the huge English forwards, which leaves Hennessy flat on his face and trampled deep into the Cardiff mud. And oh, how they'll enjoy that moment back at the HTV. And the ball runs loose. The ball runs loose, and it's taken by the ever-present Mighty Mouse General Jack Bach. And oh, he's a real tough little character, this fellow, you know. Built like a pocket battleship. He rips through the field and leaves so many people standing, it looks like a council roadworks. Hang on, there's not many seconds left of the game. And Jack Bach is brought down on the 22-metre line, but he turns, releases the ball, and it's taken by my man of the match, 16.5 stone Taranaki teetotaler, Ian Skidmore. And oh, Ian Skidmore in the twilight of his career, one of the great stalwarts of Welsh rugby, a veteran of 95 international booze-ups. He goes for the line with players bouncing off him like ninepins. He's going to score. There's no time for a tot now. What a moment for this big fellow. The whole of Wales will be proud of him as he scores between the posts. Oh, what a brilliant try. Oh, what a try.
They were quite right. You can't beat that. So if you come to Pembrokeshire, keep quiet. And I have to tell you, I did play in several rugby matches. I was the ball.
You must have, I reckon you must have played in 2 rugby matches then.
Brian Harrison, you really can't beat that. So I said to Hennessy, I said, you know, one of us is going to go through this pub door. We're going to have to look at the outside. And he said, you're having a good time, don't spoil it. And he said, besides, you got the studio coat. And I had. So I had to go. This is Trevine, the home of more Cape Horners, of more deep-sea masters than probably any other village in Wales. And there was one of them so committed to the sea that the only way he could get to sleep at night was if his wife filled a tin bath with water and rocked it to and fro by his ear. But there's a very curious thing. When they came to build their houses, these deep-sea masters, there's not one of them facing the sea. And in the retirement, the only ship they could get him into was the Ship Inn. Trythlevin. And from that bay, St Finbar sailed to Ireland. Of course, in St Finbar's day, there were more saints round here than you could shake a stick at, including the patron saint of Wales, St David. I must confess, I've always wondered how he got the job, the illegitimate son of a sex-mad bishop and a ravished nun, David the waterman, a man so unpopular that 3 of his own monks tried to murder him. And I can quite see why. We're a nation that likes a pint. We gave the world its most succulent lamb. Our women are the prettiest in Europe. How did we get stuck with a teetotal vegetarian who punished his monks with 3 days' penance just for kissing a girl's hand? I can't help thinking he'd have been a not nicer chap if he'd sunk his teeth into a mutton chop. Abermawr. Do you know, there's not a public telephone box for miles, yet 121 years ago, you could ring America from here, because down on that beach there is where the first submarine telegraph cable was laid to the States. Not quite to the States. First of all, it went to Ireland, from Ireland to Newfoundland, but the principle was there. It cost under £1 million, and there were 2,300 miles of nautical cable. I wonder why they bothered, because if they hadn't switched that on, the dreadful day of denim would never have dawned. Jeans would still be the name of a girl with light brown hair. The adenoid would never have found its place in singing. There'd be no hamburgers and the smell of onions. And I bet you, the first call through there was either an advert or a wrong number.
Ian Skidmore taking a quizzical squint at the area. But one of the kingpins of any rural community is the agricultural engineer. And the Porthgain people are very lucky indeed, because not only is their local engineer a fine craftsman, he loves his job so much that he even does it for a hobby as well. Robert Rees.
Siahwyl.
Da iawn, diolch. Now then, these machines, these traction engines, where do you get them, Robert?
Well, we had this from the late William Lewis at Mathry some 3 years ago. She's been stood idle since 1947. She's in a bad state, really.
And what was she used for?
Thrashing between here and Fishguard, and a little haulage work. In actual fact, she hauled the construction, the bridge construction, to a Strimble lighthouse in 1906.
A pretty old boy then, eh?
Yeah, and she had a new firebox fitted here in 1921.
So a lot of work needed to be done on it.
Oh yes, we completely stripped it down. We made a new firebox, boiler, and the front end is completely new, on the bunker, which is near completion.
And you've got to run it again?
Yes, we've got to watch.
Must be great satisfaction when you see an old machine like this actually working again.
Oh yeah, immense pleasure, and other people as well, really, because we'll be taking her to charity shows, and she'll be raising money for charity. And
you turn out to the agricultural events and...
Oh yes, local events, time.
Smashing. And when you get these machines back and you polish them up, they're just as good as when they were first working, I suppose.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah? A lot of skill involved there.
Yeah, especially with this one, because she's a local Mathry engine, and makes it more. You get more pleasure out of it then, of course. It's home brew, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And not only an agricultural engineer, much in demand, but much in demand as well as a fine tenor.
Well, yeah, some say that.
Great reputation, yeah. Well, we're going to put you in demand now. You're going to sing a song for us.
There you are.
What's it going to be?
Ellie Jenkins's Prayer.
Oh, one of my favourites. Off you go then, boy.
Good.
Ah, well, look forward to this now. And Ruth Barker's kindly come back again to accompany Robert on the piano.
See our best side, Lord.
say goodbye, but just for a night.
Well, that was lovely, wasn't it?
It was great.
Hey, and this is lovely too. Margaret Phillips, the landlady of this splendid pub that I want to take down and rebuild in the back of my motor car. Are you a local person?
Well, not quite. I was 2 miles up the road.
2 miles? A bit of a traveller then?
A little bit, if you
Bit of a
call it.
gypsy. Don't you think it's time you settled down?
Well, yes, no.
Pretty good place to settle down, though, isn't it? It looks, I don't want to be rude about it, but it does look, doesn't it, as though it's been put together from the bits of old sailing
Well,
ships.
so they say that the ceiling here was the deck of an old sloop. Well, it's very hard to wood in the ceiling anyway.
You've tried to hammer nails in it?
Yes, I have.
You do that for hobby, do you? Hammering nails and ceilings, I see. What about this over here? It's from an old... Is it Carolina, is it?
It's Carolina, as the Dutch say, it's Carolina. And this ship was wrecked outside here in 1859. It wouldn't take any escort out from the harbour here. And it was a very foggy day, and it went on the rocks just outside the entrance here.
Good. And there's another story, isn't it, of the time a sloop actually came into the sloop through the front door.
Yes, that's right, yes.
How did that happen?
Well, we have very high tides, I suppose, and that was it.
Of course, in those days, the beach came right up to the pub. That was before
Yes,
the harbours
just about,
built,
yes.
Yeah. How old is the pub?
1743.
1743, that's remarkable. Well, let's not waste such a glorious pub. Let's have a little drink, shall we?
Yes, shall we?
Well, I think I can say, without fear of contradiction, this has been a truly remarkable experience. Not only for me, but I know Ian Skidmore, my own sparring partner on the high stool, has had a great time as well. And I'd like to thank all the people of the village of Porthgain, and especially the people who've stayed on here in the Sloop Inn. We've had a great day and a smashing evening, and I think there's only one way we can finish up, really, with a true traditional Sloop Inn hymn. And who better to lead us than Robert Rees and his brother Meth, and everybody else who sang earlier on and joined in with us. Perhaps we'll all have a community hymn at the end. What should we have?
There's only one song, isn't there? Calon Lan.
Exactly. You pitch it for us.
Nidryn gofyn bywyd mai, gofyn bywyd troethydd, a un ar eraill mai, gofyn rwy'n am galon hai, rwy'n am galon hai, calon ones, calon lan. Calon lan yn llawn ei oni, deg a chiwn ar lili
Lobster, diolch yn fawr.